late. So first and foremost, thank you all very much for being here. My name is Liam Powers from Granite Telecommunications. I work very closely with Dan Pratt, Cliff Goodwin, Casey, and Bill Takoyan from the Granite side, as well as our mobility specialist, Thomas Kylander. So want to extend a sincere thank you for everybody jumping on the webinar today and learning a little bit about Granite's offering and how we work closely with INGRAM to bring some of our solutions to market in collaboration with you folks and our partners. So really what we want to accomplish today and what we're going to focus on is our wireless and mobility practice. But kicking things off, I just want to make sure everybody has a high level understanding of who Granite is, the type of customers that we support, what most folks know us for out there in the industry. And then I'm going to hand it off to Thomas to go through our wireless and mobility portfolio and that solution set and how we go to market in that space. So just quickly, some fun facts about Granite. We are the largest wholesaler of managed voice and data services across North America. So when I say that, what we're talking about is internet circuits, voice lines, and wireless connections. So we focus on helping multi-location businesses streamline their carrier and telecommunication services to help them save money, but also make those processes a lot more efficient for them and easier to manage. So we focus on multi-location businesses. We have over 85 of the Fortune 100 customers in our portfolio now as customers. And again, what we're providing for those customers, internet access, voice services, and to a certain extent, different types of managed services, some of which are in the wireless space that Thomas is going to go over for us. We're almost a $2 billion annualized company. We are privately held. Rob Hale sits in the building across the street from me. In our headquarters in Quincy, we have a small campus here of 3 different buildings just south of Boston. And we also have 12 other branch offices along the East Coast. Granite really focuses or puts a lot of value behind customer retention as well as building customized support structures around those customers and our resale partners, and how we support not only our partners but our end users as well. And another big part about Granite is philanthropy. So you'll notice there 300 million plus donated to charitable organizations. That should say 305 million. A couple months ago, we just had our Saving by Shaving, which is really our biggest event of the year, where our owner, Rob Hale, pays $5,000 for anybody that's willing to shave their head. Or do locks of love for the ladies if you have 6 inches or longer of hair. And I think we just wrote a check for 3.5 million to Boston Children's Hospital, and I'm still feeling the effects of it a little bit right now with my hair. It takes a little while longer these days for it to come back, so every year it's more and more of a sacrifice. But just kind of give you an idea of like who you're working with and the organization and community that we try to create within our organization, but also kind of having an impact outside of our organization. So again, privately held, debt free. So we have, obviously we're a fairly large company, but we have a small business approach to how we support our partners and our customers. What you'll see here is a good example of some of our customers, large enterprise organizations that we support, and we provide them a variety of services, whether it's internet access, voice service, managed service, maybe we're deploying a cradle point, something along those lines. But these are the type of customers that we have within our existing portfolio, as well as some of the awards that we've won. So, we've been Cradlepoint's Partner of the Year 3 years running. Verizon, Most Innovative last year. A lot of that is due to the growth in our wireless division, which Thomas is going to go over in more detail. And then, some awards we've won from Forbes, Channel Future, about just our organization as an employer, and what it's like from a culture perspective. So, again, we focus on multi-location businesses, making the procurement, installation, and management of carrier services a lot easier. And when it comes to our resale partners, we customize our solution based on what your existing product portfolio looks like. So we like to term it as augmenting your sale, um, or providing the opportunity for monthly reoccurring revenue through our connectivity services that we offer. Um, and within the channel and working through Ingram and with you, we develop a dedicated program for how we go to market together. And that can be different for each customer, each industry, but ultimately, we have team members here that are prepared to support you folks as a new organization, and then a whole team of operations folks that are ready to support your customers and your end users. I think this is a good visual representation of the role that we play in the carrier space. This really speaks to more on the wireline, so traditional internet access. You think about dedicated internet, broadband connections, whether they're fiber, copper, coax. We can really provide internet access as well as voice services in any form or fashion you can imagine, and we work with these last mile providers in order to accomplish that goal. So you think about a multi-location business that has operations set up in different states. They're crossing over different carrier footprints. You multiply that by 100 sites. We have customers that have thousands of sites. That would result in you potentially having to engage with all these different providers, set up contracts with them. They all have different price points, SLAs, product types that they sell. So it can become quite cumbersome, and it can be expensive, right? Both internally and externally, trying to manage all these relationships and the services that they provide. So Granite comes in from a wholesale perspective and really can operate as a single point of contact for yourself as well as your customers when it comes to carrier services. And the big thing that we're offering to this audience is monthly reoccurring revenue in the form of commission through our partnership with Ingram. So any customers that you bring to Granite for any of our services, but specifically our carrier services or our wireless services, you have the opportunity for commission on a monthly reoccurring basis for as long as they're a customer of Granite. Whatever Granite bills that customer, you're getting a portion of that coming back to you through our Ingram partnership. And your Ingram rep can go over your commission schedule specifically with you on different product sets and those percentages. So, this is probably the easiest way to explain our business model as it relates to carrier services. We come in, sit over the top, and really make that process a lot easier. Some people question having us as a middleman, and maybe that thing makes things more complicated. But actually, what we've done, and we've done it for a long time, we were one of the first to become electronically bonded with these carriers. So basically, when we're opening tickets and orders in our system, they seamlessly flow down through these other carriers ordering systems, and it's just the same as if you were ordering with them. That's still that same process or methodology holds true for the repair side as well. So, if there's an outage, circuits down, phone lines down, the circuits bouncing, things like that, Granite takes full ownership of opening the ticket and then managing that ticket until resolution and providing yourself as well as your end users with the feedback and the updates on how we're getting that issue resolved. So, this again is a situation where you don't have to look up your invoices, figure out who's billing you, what carrier is being used in that specific location or that area. You call Granite, and we take care of you know, escalating, engaging, the carrier at the repair level, and managing all those activities that go on, that are associated with internet access, voice services, really anything connectivity related. So That's just a quick visual overview. This makes up a large majority of our customer base, and what they come to for us is carrier services. Um, Going back into the different types of internet access we can provide, any and all, right? And we also have, if you have retail customers, they've probably heard of us, especially if they're in malls. So we have a product where we actually provide dedicated access to malls and work directly with the mall operators to provide high quality internet access at a cost effective rate within the mall space. So that's our Granite Grid product. Your retail customers, if they're in malls, they've probably heard of that. But again, that's a service that's available to this audience for reselling purposes and commission purposes. So if you think about internet access, regardless of carrier, regardless of the type of internet access, would be able to provide that at a wholesale pricing structure, and then manage the implementation process and ongoing management and support of those services as well. Really what you know, we do well, again, is sitting over the top of carrier services, providing internet access in any form or fashion you can imagine. And then voice services is another really strong aspect of Granite. Outside of wireless, which Thomas is going to go into in great detail, voice is another area that we really were birthed out of. Granite became a wholesaler through wholesaling POTS lines to Walmart in the Northeast region 22 years ago. They really liked that. They asked us if we could do it on a national level, and that's exactly what we did. We took our carrier wholesale services on a national level, started with plain old telephone lines, POTS lines, and then moved our way into internet access, data services, and then more recently the wireless space. So AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, we work with all those folks, take that same kind of operating business model over to the wireless space. And then when it comes to voice, again, that's a situation where we can provide dial tone any which way it's required. Wholesaling POTS lines, yes, they are still around. Yes, people still need help managing them, and we can be competitive there and provide cost savings for those legacy services. But more specifically, we're seeing more folks leverage our voice network for SIP services, so DIDs, call pass. We have hosted PBX offerings as well too for more simplistic voice deployments that we can enable a cloud PBX basically for it. And then we also integrate very well with Microsoft Teams. So we do direct routing as well as Operator Connect. And last but not least, what's really been driving a lot of business recently is our Epic solution, which is our pots in a box solution. So that's what it's most commonly referred to out there in the industry, but essentially it's a cellular based connectivity that provides dial tone very similar to the legacy POTS services. So this is geared specifically towards emergency services, so fire, elevator, fax, call boxes, things of that nature, all those peripheral devices that still require that analog voice connection that POTS is able to provide. This is really the silver bullet for those services. So you probably have customers that are either starting to pay significantly more money for their POTS services, or the carrier in the area is decommissioning the services altogether. They're getting notifications that a central office is going to get decommissioned, or they need to upgrade their facilities to fiber, which again, some of the fiber voice services don't play well with alarm panels, fax machines, and things like that. So if you have a customer that is in that situation where they're looking to get away from their POTS line, we have a solution for it. Another big fit for that is, maybe you already have a UCaaS or a cloud PBX solution that you offer your customers, but it can't satisfy all the requirements. Again, there are peripheral devices that do require just a regular dial tone. So, that's elevators, fax, alarms, paging systems quite often don't play nice with cloud-based PBXs. So, our ability to provide a solution for the voice applications that fall outside of a typical cloud voice deployment, we can bring that in and make it a complete solution for you. So really, the takeaway from just this introduction is we are the best at providing internet access and voice services to multi-location businesses and making that process easy to procure, install, and manage. And we can get into more detail, please. Like what we'll do is set up sidebar meetings after this to follow up and get more into the detail on the different areas of our business you want to learn about. But what I want to do now is pass it over to Thomas to go through in detail our wireless and mobility division and how we're winning business there and how we can help you folks add revenue, offer a complete solution and really fill in the gaps of some of the services and products that you're deploying out there now that are cellular enabled, or if you have customers that have a large wireless inventory that right now they're having difficulty managing because it's with 3 different carriers, managing data pools, logging into different portals, and again, this is something that we commission on a monthly recurring basis with. So with that, I'm going to give Thomas the reins. Thomas, feel free to jump in, try and share your presentation, and I'll probably jump in here or there, but thank you, Thomas. Looks like you're good to go.
I can get it up. Yeah, no, nice to meet everyone. Sorry for showing you my camera. I'll skip past the numbers that make us feel good about ourselves and get right into where we really shine in cellular. At the end of the day, I think our most defining characteristic is what we call geographic perfection. And essentially all it means is we're carrier agnostic. So within the US, we have direct agreements with Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. We've got Rogers, Telus, and Bell in Canada. And then we even have a multi-carrier SIM with 600 different carriers globally, and it literally works just about everywhere. It's in over 190 countries. Now, what's really neat about that is I'll get into a little bit further, but it's literally got data centers on 6 continents, 24 of them in total. So it really can be that one solution that guarantees you low latency, direct local pricing anywhere in the world. Now, of course, having all those agreements is great, but one of the things we constantly hear from our clients and our prospects is that, look, managing it is a pain, right? Particularly when you're in a multi-carrier environment, it can be difficult to get a handle on everything. So not only do we have all the direct wholesale agreements, but we give you a number of tools. The biggest of which is what we call our GEM portal. GEM just stands for Granite Enterprise Mobility Management. And essentially what it is it's a single pane of glass where regardless of that underlying carrier that you're using, you've just got one place to go and manage it. It's all tied in, just like the rest of our billing software and support, directly into the carriers. So everything you're seeing there is as live as you would see by signing into Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, but you're getting the consolidation of it all in one space. Of course, it's not just for reporting. Basically all the MACD type changes you would want to make are available in there. So any moves, adds, changes, suspending, even activating service can all be done directly through our portal. But we like to say, like Liam said, at the end of the day, we're a customer service company in the telecommunication industry. So we really do pride ourselves on the support. We're not just going to throw you to the wolves and let you figure out the environment. We're really going to be there to build a team around you. So that's one of the things we pride ourselves on. You're going to get a dedicated customer service, representative, what we call a premier, but they're ultimately backed by their team members, but also by our 24/7 365 help desk that's up at our headquarters just south of Boston. It's worth pointing out all of our support is US based entirely, so it's truly some of the best in the industry. Um, we also do a bunch of stuff, peripherally to make it happen. One of the things I like to say is it's very easy to architecture a solution, right? Kind of on the whiteboard, have what hardware you want to use, do a pre-qual to figure out who the best carrier is going to be at every site. But if you're talking something like a cradle point rollout as, more people move, both the secondary and tertiary circuits, but also the primary in some cases to cellular, it really does need more of that white glove professional install. And that's where we have our own technicians in what I like to call NFL cities. So think anywhere with a major NFL, baseball, or even, hockey, basketball team. If it's a big city like that, we probably have our own W-2 technicians there, but we also have a partner network of over 12,000 who we've vetted and certified nationwide. And really what that allows us to do is take that concept, take that project from the drawing board and implement it in the real world. A great example of this is a couple of years ago, we actually had a pretty large, I don't want to say the name, but pretty large construction, cellular for their primary connectivity, and they had a pretty quick time frame. It was 1,800 stores that they wanted to do within 60 days, and we were able to make that happen. I'm pretty confident in saying that we're one of the few that could truly, from cradle to grave, run that whole solution. Not only were we able to get them the plans on Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile to make sure that they had the two best carriers at every site, get them the hardware, but we were the ones who were able to install it, manage it through our NOC, and continuously make sure that we're supporting the network, whether that's just by, updating the cradle points, watching for any outages, controlling the flow for which carriers are using the data. We really have become that single entity which can basically provide the connectivity. Now, of course, like I was saying, we do have a NOC. So Granite Guardian is basically our NOC service where we're going to do 24/7, 365 ping monitoring, just make sure the device is up and running. A lot of devices in today's world, particularly when you're talking cellular, when there is an issue, it can be solved over the air. Right. So one of the things with our NOC is it's directly integrated into our support teams. So as soon as they see a problem, what they're going to do is proactively open up a repair ticket before you're even aware, right? In most cases. So as soon as we see a site go down, we're going to be troubleshooting it. 9 out of 10 times in today's world, you can bring that up online remotely. And it just kind of is that white glove experience of us taking you guys out of the equation and having to play that middleman of saying, oh, it looks like site XYZ is down. Could you guys look into it? We're already going to be proactively doing that. We also, very similar to support, we do optimizations on a monthly basis. It's kind of a gimmicky name, but it's what we call Noverage. And essentially what it is it's our real-time time service. So unlike a lot of other people who will look at, kind of utilization and usage from historical data, we're actually watching it in real time and making changes within the usage cycle, both up and down. So what that effectively gets you is making sure that in every month, everyone's data plans are optimized in the most cost-effective way possible. And when you combine all of that, with us providing the hardware, the service, being able to install it, manage it, and then support it, it really does create that unified front for a customer where they can not worry about it as much as they otherwise might when it's multiple teams interacting. Do some stuff in private LTE that's gotten a little bit bigger over the last couple of months, really year, 18 months. It's a solution that's not for everyone, but we've seen it particularly in warehouses. I would also say large industrial areas, whether that's oil fields, ports, rail yards. The idea of having a more unified network, as opposed to relying on just the cell that's out there from a commercial perspective or doing a massive Wi-Fi deployment. We're really starting to see private LTE and CBRS become a legitimate application there. This was one that we actually did in Indiana. The building there on the left it's the Subaru manufacturing plant for the Americas, and it's a huge facility. Right. And what they were looking to do was, especially as they moved to more automated manufacturing, they wanted the ability to basically have connectivity anywhere on the campus. And, you're talking about a 7.7 million square foot, lot where the vehicles are kept before they're shipped out. In the top in the orange, I think it's pretty cool. That's actually a test track they have, which is the second largest test track, or not test track, but second largest racetrack, car track, if you want to call it that, in Indiana after the Indianapolis Speedway. So, these are large geographic areas that they're looking to cover with a more unified connectivity solution. And it's an area where we've seen private LTE be really interesting towards some of those customers, particularly the ones at the more leading edge. Um, I am going to switch presentations just because this is a slightly newer one, but do really want to talk about something we're excited about at Granite, and that is our multi-carrier SIM. Our multi-carrier SIM, we think is actually going to be pretty unique compared to what's in the market, and it comes down to a couple of reasons. The biggest of which is a lot of multi-carrier sims out there have said that, oh, we have all three, the major carriers in the US on our platform, meaning Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, but they weren't direct agreements, right? What they really had were roaming agreements, with someone like a British Telecom, Deutsche Telekom, O2, someone like that, to cover their Verizon. And it just wasn't stable. Not only is it a lower quality of service implicitly, higher latency because you're having to bounce the data across the Atlantic, but more importantly, when they're on those roaming agreements and they're permanently in the US, the carriers do eventually flag that. If you just look over the last couple of years, both Verizon and T-Mobile have had situations where they've kicked millions of sims off their network that were on roaming agreements that were there for more than 90 days. And with us, that's just not a concern because our agreements in the US on that multi-carrier sim are direct with the underlying carriers. Outside of the US, it's a little bit of a different world, especially in Europe. Roaming is just the norm. So we do actually also have a middleware company we've partnered with where basically we've been able to add over 500 international carriers as well. And what's great about that is essentially you're getting local direct rates anywhere in the world. And if you think about a large IoT type company doing, it can be enormously powerful. Just as kind of an anecdote, there's an EV charging company we're working with where they're going to do 10,000 units this year, and their manufacturing and testing happens in Thailand, and then they're shipping all over the world. 70-80% of their business is going to North America, but they've also got a bunch of units going to Europe, kind of Asia Pacific, and candidly they don't really know where it's going to end up once it leaves that manufacturing facility in Thailand. So when you start talking about a multi-carrier sim, you can test it at that manufacturing facility in Thailand and have the confidence that once it leaves there and it's up and running, as soon as you go to plug it back in again, it's going to be able to connect to whoever the best provider is anywhere in the world. You also have a lot of control over the multi-carrier sim through our portal. You can actually force it to fail over, pick a carrier, whatever you want, as well as it is natively built that should it lose signal, should it drop below 120 dBm, it's going to automatically start that process of searching for another carrier. It is supported on both a physical or an eSIM, so really whatever kind of hardware architecture they have, we can make it happen. And candidly, it's something we're just really excited about. If you compare it to the traditional MNOs and direct SIMs, obviously it's a lot more capable. You're going to basically have all of the carriers on one single platform. So you're going to get a lot of efficiencies, operationally, but you're also going to get a lot more control. Everything with our multi-carrier SIM is API accessible. You can integrate it directly into whatever customer, platform they're using now. It's got that global low latency just because we do have 24 data centers across 6 continents. And candidly, you're going to have a lot more control just because we run everything through our own private network in terms of stuff like throttling, usage controls, blacklisting, whitelisting websites. You're going to really have that full level of network control that you're used to in more of a router application at a SIM level. That portal, I was referencing to, where you're going to go in and be able to manage all of that, it is all live. It's directly tied into the carrier databases, so you're going to see the usage as live as you would from the carriers. You're going to be able to control throttling and usage policies. If you want someone to have a hard cap at 20 gigs because there's no reason a device should be using more than 5 in a given month, that's right there and very easy to do. Another thing that we've just added, which seems really trivial and simple, is we've actually updated it to automatically detect any IMEI changes. So if someone takes the SIM out of a device, sticks it into something else, we're going to see that, right? And we're going to be able to automatically update it, which I know it sounds silly, but is huge in terms of keeping, a closer level of management in terms of their inventory. Because typically what we see is after a couple of years, when people swap SIMs without telling anyone, you have no idea what equipment's out there in the field, what needs upgraded, what the capabilities are. This is automatically going to pull that IMEI, tell you what the equipment is, and do it without the need for you physically having to go into the portal and make those changes. Again, don't want to, hit too much on Liam said. One of the things we do pride ourselves on is that support, right? So not only is it a very cool product from a technology standpoint, but we understand that there's always going to be issues, right? It's cellular, it's telecom. It's a question of how you respond to those issues that really makes a difference. And we're proud to say that, within our industry, not the most beloved industry, slightly better than airlines, we do have the highest net promoter score by far. So we really do put our money where our mouth is when it comes to supporting our customers. You're going to have, dedicated account teams, access to subject matter experts. It's all based in the US. And then you're going to have a lot of customization too, right? So, a lot of people like to take the bill in just a basic EDI feed so that they can plug it into their, payment software. We can make sure that we're spitting out our bill in an Excel report that just makes it an easy upload. Save AP a lot of that time of, coding and all that nonsense. And all of that is included with our plan rates. We don't have any account or management fees, any nonsense like that. So really does kind of make it a unique product, and one that we're definitely very excited about. It's worth pointing out that the pricing we have, at least from the multi-carrier perspective, it's based around, kind of North America as the base zone. But then we also have a couple of other zones. Zone 2 includes Europe, and it goes all the way up to Zone 5. Zone 5 is the more expensive one, but it's really including some of those wackadoodle countries, like the Seychelles, right? Where candidly, cellular, from a roaming agreement is ridiculously expensive, but at least you're going to be able to have kind of that direct price point, as opposed to I mean, I've literally seen some where it's $500-$600 a gig the carriers charge you. Ours is going to be pennies in comparison to that.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think this most recent product launch is going to be massive for this audience in particular because it really simplifies the conversation when you're talking to your customers about adding connectivity services or tacking on the data with whatever device you're already selling, right? So, what carrier do you want? It doesn't matter. You have options to all of them. It's even to a point where we can deploy, and then if we find out that that specific carrier isn't the best in the area, it's a couple keystrokes and it's reconfigured, or Thomas alluded to, it'll do it itself too, right? So now it really makes it a lot more of somewhat of a transactional sale. I know sometimes that's a bad word, but it really simplifies the conversation when you're speaking to your customers about the tablet you're selling or the laptop, the hotspot, the cradle point, right? You want to get that monthly reoccurring revenue. You want to start recognizing that data. This is an easy way to do that, right? Pop our SIM in there. We get it deployed, verify the best carrier either before or ultimately when it's deployed. And now you're up and running. And whatever we bill that customer for those data services every month, you're getting a portion of that coming back to you. So I just think it really is a huge differentiator and really is going to have an impact on, this audience in the market when it comes to, VARs, resellers, folks that, previously really focused on the device itself, hardware. This is kind of that gateway into connectivity services. We can always simplify the wireline internet access conversation, but really I do think people kind of shy away from that because there's a lot of education that has to take place both on their and the customer side. This, on the other hand, everybody's got a cell phone, right? Everybody has been watching the T-Mobile and Verizon 5G commercials for the past 5 years and getting it shoved down your throat, right? So this is a situation where it really does become as easy as, hey, pop a SIM card in there, and now you're off and running, and that data meter is just running, and you guys are getting paid for it. So thank you, Thomas. I just want to step in and add that because I really do think this is going to make a big difference for this audience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll make sure we get this deck over to them as well, Liam. Just because, look, multi-carrier SIMs have existed for a couple of years now, but like I was saying, that not having the direct agreements, particularly within the US, has been definitely a limitation concern historically. And it's part of the reason why we may not have been the first to the market, but we didn't want to have something we were reselling that didn't have that same level of priority and service as you would get direct, right? So that was kind of a big hang up for us. And that's why we're so excited with what we've been able to put together.
And we only got 5 minutes left. So one of the points I did want to make is Thomas did a great job describing all the different components to our solution offering in wireless. And well, why I want to reiterate is that it's a la carte, right? So you and your customers don't have to go with everything, right? If you only want the connectivity services with the multi-carrier SIM or even a Verizon native SIM, that's fine. That's the gap we can fill, or that's the support we can provide. If you only want to use field services because you have no way of getting your hardware or your solution into production, deployed out there in the field, that's fine too. You can use us strictly for our field services. If you want to refer customers over and have us take care of the entire solution, we are capable of doing that too. But I think it's important to point out, especially with this audience, we are going to work around your existing solution set and your existing process. So, you'll define for us where we fit in a solution with your customer, right? And then we play that role and we stay in our lane and we do it really well. So, you can pick and choose which of the services from Granite you want to plug into your solution to make it a complete solution. And I think that's really what we're trying to bring to the table is the ability to augment a sale or round out your existing managed service practice, or just even find a new entry point into a customer that you may not have been able to get into there yet, right? Because a lot of times, or the majority of the times in these situations, like especially if it's of an existing network, whether it's internet circuits or wireless, the first thing we do is come in and complete a cost savings analysis and look at their existing bills, see what they're spending, and see where we can save.
Did anyone else lose Liam?
Yes, I lost him.
Okay, me too. I think I know where
Yep.
he's going with it. Essentially we're not an all or nothing shop, right? It's whatever part makes the most sense to you guys where we can add value. We want to be here to support you and support your customers. So we do a really good job with it. We've been in the channel partner space for quite a long time. And, we understand that every solution is going to be a little bit custom, need to be tailored. And that's where we can really do a good job of kind of stepping in and helping you guys however you need individually.
Thank you for stepping in there, TK. I'm hearing that I lost my audio for a second. Thank you very much. I'm sure it sounded better than what I was going to say anyways.
Probably not usually my talking point, so I doubt that.
No, no, thank you very much. And I want to make sure we're respectful of everybody's time. We have 2 minutes here. So we're going to be sending out a survey after the fact, and whoever fills out the survey the best, we're going to send you a $50 Amazon gift card. So please keep an eye out for that survey. Ask any questions, provide us with feedback. We'll reach out to you. One, if you were the winner of the gift card, but two, anybody that attended today, we're going to reach out, make sure you feel comfortable with what we discussed, and then hopefully set up a follow-up meeting to really get into the details and answer any questions you may have about how we can start to collaborate together.
Wonderful.
right.
Thank you so much, Liam. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And if you have questions, you can also reach out to ucas@ingrammicro.com, and our team will be happy to connect you with Liam, Thomas, or one of the other members of the Granite team. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, team.
Thanks, everyone.